topic for the same is Rediscovering the Pharma Industry with Digitalization, Improving Medicine Development and Patient Care. And the eminent speakers for the same panel are Dr. Pramod Kumar Rajput, Vertical Head and Senior Vice President of Cadila Pharmaceutical Limited, Dr. Ravi Kasibhatta, Senior Vice President of Clinical Research, Lupinpharma, Dr. Arani Chatterjee, Senior Vice President of Clinical Research, Aurobindo Pharma Limited, Dr. Lalit Lakhwani, Associate Vice President, Head India Clinical Research of Sun Pharma, Professor Ranjit Singh, Vice Chancellor of Shobhit University, Gangoh, and Mr. Archis Hemant Joshi, Commercial Head of Maximus SBU, Dr. Reddy. And Dr. Archis Hemant Joshi will be our session moderator. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. So I would like to welcome all the respected panelists, right? And, we'll have a little introduction, something about me. Let me start, being a panel member. So I have close to 20 years of experience in pharma industry. I had a business close to 400 crores. I work with Dr. Reddy's, where sales, marketing, both the things I see for a division. I have recently authored a book that is Arjun in Corporate Mahabharat, which never expected but sold well somehow. Writing is a passion, so I keep on writing in ET Health. So 2-3 articles got published over there. I enjoy teaching, so I am faculty at IAS Bandra for Pharma MBA. Correct. So this is about me. Can I? Do you have the slide for the Ayush for the next panelist so that I can have an introduction of that, or shall I tell on my own?
Show the speaker slide. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have speaker slide, oh yeah. I think this is one personality which people who are in my field, I think they have idolized. So on my on professional level, on my personal level, like Dr. Rajput has been a guru, right? So it's a great honor for me, to be on the same panel with this gentleman. And I think this is one person where I can talk for long hours without any introduction, which is displayed on that. So sir is a long timer into Cadila, and I think the evolution of this company, or evolution of many generations of the sales and marketeers, that has happened under Dr. Pramod Kumar Rajput. Very inspirational story where how from a ground level one can reach from bottom to top. I think generations of people like me, I think they look up to sir always, and I think talking to them, be with them is a great inspiration to us. Sir, I think I cannot add more words than this, whenever it comes to you, right? So I am looking forward to have a strong association and a good discussion with you on this. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Next, can you take next? We have now Mr. Ravi Kasibhatta. He is Senior Vice President so far as the Lupin Biotech is concerned, and he brings in the clinical research as is the core competence. He did his PhD pharmacology from the Nizam Institute of Hyderabad. My head office happens to be at the same place. He is the PhD guide for Lupin at Manipal, and 3 candidates declare PhD currently, 2 overseeing that. Correct. So he has a very long experience so far as the clinical research as well as the teaching backgrounds are concerned. And Dr. Ravi Sekhar's insights, particularly on the clinical research field, can be extremely insightful, to all the audience. So welcome, Dr. Ravi Sekhar. We look forward for a great discussion with you today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Next. Dr. Arani Chatterjee, who is a Senior Vice President for Clinical Research, Aurobindo Pharma Limited. So he has completed his graduation from CMC Vellore. He did his post-graduation from Nimans, Bangalore. He has a postgraduate certificate in management from IIM Indore. And before joining Aurobindo, he was at Biological Evans, Hyderabad for 3 years, Panacea Biotech, New Delhi for 9 years, Dr. Reddy Laboratories, Hyderabad for 6 years, This is something common between us, right? And has a huge experience of 23 years. He has served importantly as a WHO advisor to the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. He is the member of several Brenton collaboration group. He has participated in WHO, say, GVSI meetings, with US FDA and many big bodies which are over there. The National Technology Advisory Group on Immunization, Asia Pacific Dengue Prevention Board meetings, and so many other initiatives which were there by UNICEF. I think he has been a member to that. It will be very graceful, to have a discussion and dialogue with Dr. Arani. Welcome, Dr. Arani.
Thank you, Archis.
Thanks. Dr. Lakhwani, Lalit Lakhwani, who is our next panelist speaker, who is the associate vice president and head India for the clinical research for Sun Pharma. He heads the clinical research team and is responsible for clinical development of differentiated products, complex generics, biosimilars, NCs for India. His skills include, design and conduct of clinical trials, phase 1 to 3, clinical development of all the NSCs, NBCs, complex generics, differentiated products in diverse therapeutic areas: rheumatology, immunology, metabolic, pain, inflammation, respiratory, and almost every aspect of the pharma industry and therapies he is touching. He is proficient in people management of teams based across geographies, and his specialties are MD pharmacology, and particular interest is into clinical trials. We look forward, Dr. Lalit Lakhwani, for an excellent interaction with you. Can we have the next one? Now we had two representations from pharma sales and marketing, hardcore sales and marketing. We had close to 3 representations who were associated with the clinical research in a direct or indirect form. Now we have Professor Ranjit Singh, who brings a different and tangibly away dimension so far as this discussion is concerned, and that is on the education sector. So Professor Singh is the Vice Chancellor for the Shobhit University, Saharanpur. His educational qualification, he is a PhD holder in pharmaceutical sciences. Dr. Singh has an experience of more than 25 years. He has been a hardcore teacher as well as into research. He has worked as a lecturer, reader, professor, sorry, and head director, for various important government as well as non-government organizations. He is an expert member for various regulatory agencies like PCI, AICTE, NBA, these statutory bodies of different universities he is looking into. Dr. Singh is the life member of APTI, SPER, IPGA, Vice President of SPER. He has guided 38 MPharm and 25 PhD scholars, 8 PhD under progress. So Professor Ranjit is the recipient of more than 30 awards and honors, and he has 160 publications, 64 presentations, 5 patents published, 20 chapters, these as books, and 26 webinars, he has conducted. So it's a complete resource person. I think what can be the more grace, than having you on board on the same panel to discuss with you. So
just humbled. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So we look forward for a great discussion. So today's topic is that connects pharma and digital. So I think before directly entering into the questions or the dimensions of our field, I think let us understand, what is the current state of, pharma, and so far as the digitalization is concerned. COVID had created a compulsion for lot of pharmas to go towards digital and actually look at the advantages that it is going to offer into the various facets of its operations. When we look at, how digital is changing today. So I think today in digital, the right, the approach had changed from providing just solutions towards providing an experience. Many of the pharmas, I would like to talk particularly, which Dr. Rajput will very well, he can resonate and agree on that. But today what's happening with the pharma is that, pharma adopted digital as a compulsion. This was adopted only to the functional areas, but now the time has come, pharma changes the gear and it goes from the functional areas to the experiential areas, the places where the digital can provide a great patient experience, or digital can provide, a great experience to HCP about that organization or that particular product. And somewhere down the line, in pharma, this process is at a different level in different organizations. Many organizations has very consciously progressed, correct, in this particular field. At the same time, there are many organizations who are completely, away, so far as this digitalization is concerned. I can give you two tangibly different examples. I will not quote the names of the companies, but there are organizations who has completely done away from pharma. They are still on the visual aids, they are still on the paper inputs, and there are completely digitally adopted companies where they have gone, completely paperless, and they have reached the customer very effectively. So these are the two different things are there. So to start the discussion, I would like to ask Dr. Rajput. So I want to ask you, sir, that how do you see digital impacting pharma sales and marketing over a horizon of maybe next 4 to 5 years? What are your preliminary thoughts on that?
So thank you so much. Good evening. Namaste to all the eminent personalities, right, who have joined here. And thank you, Chandan sir, for inviting me on your wonderful platform where we are going to discuss the latest thing and 5 years ahead, what we are able to see, because the personalities who have joined here, they are the name to be reckoned in their respective field. And the question is very, very important, because morning in the inaugural session, I was very sincerely and seriously listening the talk of two of the chief guests which has been invited, right, of the Dr. Hira Lal was there and Dr. Raj Kamal. So I will take the points from them. So Dr. Hira Lal was talking about that how even government of India, they are talking about the digital part. And the Ayushman Bharat digital mission, which is the healthcare sector, has been taken care. The telemedicine has how changed the entire situation. So when the government of India is talking and thinking about the affordability, quality, availability, and the right information, then as a pharma industry provider, we should be on the forefront to ensure that thing. So this is one thing which is very important. Second thing, it was from the Dr. Yadav who said about it, that it is started about the mixtures and all, right? And today the things are getting changed, right? Today we are talking about the medicine to the polypill therapy and the new advancement which is there. Today we have the colleagues here. We are going to talk about the biosimilar genetics which are going to require. So this is all the thing which is going to happen with the digital requirement. So the question of Mr. Archis is very, very apt and very, very permanent, which I like to say that the value of the marketing automation is the prescription for successful patient-provider relationship. This is point number one. Second point, which we say that it enables the healthcare organization to use and measure omni-channel marketing seamlessly throughout the patient journey. Because again, what Archis has said, that instead of providing the thing, we should have the patient journey, which is going to help all of us. Third point I'd like to add here, this marketing automation is also allows us for one-to-one patient conversation, which is important now because patients are not going through the way, they are not carrying the multiple files and all. They have the simple thing, like we have the DigiLogger, that same thing is there. So their entire things are confidential. At the same time, we are going to make the things happen. So making a very more personalized experience for prospective patient working through the unique journey. And last but not the least, it also nurtures the prospective patient throughout the entire marketing funnel, that the patient journey with all the things which is basically required. So this is the way that I see that how the change is going to happen. And it is going to be advanced in the coming time because all are adopting. Today we see, we are talking about the online. right? Online people, they are not only selling the medicine. Now they have a lot of the other thing which they are providing it, which is more accuracy. Second thing, I was listening with one of the our colleague here, that 70% of the diagnosis results, the doctors, they are giving prescription on the 70% of the diagnosis part, right? But the expenditure is only 5%. Chandan Saab, I'm sure you will agree with me, right? That was the thing which have been spoken. So these all things are going to help us, that how diagnosis, how the results, how the result oriented is going to help us, and we will be there. Then at the same time, now we are talking about the artificial intelligence, right? AI. We are talking about the metaverse in healthcare system, which is very important. We are talking about the 4.0, especially in production part, which is again very important. And the companies in the multinational, they have already adopted it. Doctors, they are going to talk about the metaverse, how they are going to ensure the patient. So that lot of revolution is going to come. Technology is going to rule, and everybody has to adopt it, which is the real requirement. And the companies which are not using it, or the people are not using it, they are going to be very, very obsolete, and they will be out of the show. So we have seen the companies which are using it, utilizing it, and going ahead. And that is the result we can say, that we are able to provide the, you can say this injectables and other things to the entire world in a very short span of time. That vaccines has been given to the entire people. So all these things are there, which is the real creation of this digital part which is there. So this is from
sir,
my
thanks,
side.
thanks. Sir, in continuation of that, if I can just take one more question like that, see, we agree. You have also observed, I have also observed, there has been a resistance by certain pharma companies to adopt digital. Certain companies are really, adopting it quickly. Do you see, sir, any specific reason for certain companies having still being so rigid to that?
Because I just picked the point, because they are not upgrading themselves, right? It is very, very clear. If you don't upgrade, you are out. So you want to be, you said about it, they are having the same literature, visualate and all, talking about things. But today the upgradation is very important. Today, see, I must give an example here, that there is one college is there in Dubai, where I know the dean of that, Dr. Pramod Mahajan, right? He up to the high school level. They teach the student of 8th, 9th, 10th standard on through the AI based model. Can you believe this thing? This is the change which is happening there. And this is coming in India also. Today we are talking about the robotic science. So today our children of 9th standard, 10th standard, when they talk about that thing, and the pharma company, they don't want to change because they have not upgraded that team. It is not the owner is going to upgrade. It is the team which is managing it. So team has to change and team have to upgrade. And for that, they have to have the knowledge. They have to upgrade themselves. They have to have a differentiation of the things. Because I know there's a lot of resistance is happening. The companies who are adopting, they are going in a clear-cut flow because they are going to segmentize. It is becoming more economical, and at the same time, the correct data is there. That's why we say technology is a god and data is the king.
Absolutely, absolutely. And very well placed, sir. I think it could not have been so direct, and it could not have been so apt, while addressing that particular resistance which is there. Thanks. My next question, now let me divert, little bit from a pharma sales marketing to little bit clinical area, because we have a lot of experts, from that particular field. So I would like to take this question first with Dr. Lalit and then with Dr. Ravi, correct? I think my question is going to be same, but I would like to have both perspectives, on that. What are your views on this? So basically, between me and Dr. Rajput, we have seen the side of digital impacting pharma on the sales and marketing part, or maybe business part, to be larger issue. But when it comes to the clinical part, correct, or when it comes to the clinical trial segment, what are the best practices? What's happening? Is digitalization as impactful or as disruptive in this segment also, like it is happening into the pharma business segment?
Yes.
First, we'll take Dr. Lalit, correct, and then we can take view of Dr. Ravi on that.
Yes. Thank you, Archis, for the question, and thank you, organizers, for arranging this wonderful panel discussion. Really delighted to be part of this. So, Archis, your question is very relevant. Okay, is digitalization equally impacting the clinical development as well? Now, I would say that it's not even equally impacting. It's actually more than impacting than other segments to the clinical development part. Why I'm saying this? Patient centricity is the key in each and every flow. So in the clinical development also, because this is an area, clinical trials, where patients are at the center of the clinical trials. And we have to see which approaches are more patient-centric. So the conventional approaches, compared to the conventional approaches, the approaches which are digitalized, which include digitalization, including the decentralized approaches, they are much more patient-centric compared to the conventional brick and mortar approaches. For instance, you see, in every clinical trial, let's take an example of a phase 2 or phase 3 clinical trial. Let's take an example, phase 3, for instance. There could be 30, 40, or 50 investigator sites in a country. For example, there are 50 sites in India. Now, from where the patients will come in? Patients will come in from a vicinity of around 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers around the sites. But is that sufficient? Is that all? I mean, have you covered all the patient pools? What about patients who are beyond 50 kilometers of those sites? So why we are missing those patients? So the data says that on an average, any clinical trial in any country, if that is done through a conventional approach, is only capturing 8% of patients, 8% of patient populations. Why? Because the rest of 92% of patient population is beyond the reach of those sites. Now, no patient will travel 100 kilometers and come to the site and go back 100 kilometers on the same day. So, of course, those patient populations are excluded. This is one point. Second thing is, when the patients come to the sites, they invest a lot of time in commuting, in many procedures, which is actually not important from the patient perspective. So their motivation gets declined here. So that's where I'm saying patient-centric. So ideally, as you see in other businesses, the businesses go to the consumers, go to the customers. Here also, the benefit should go to the patient, not patient coming to the sites. So that's where the future is going to be. If we have to do this, then the trials should minimize the patient visits to sites. Patients can come for the first visit, for instance, but then the other visits can be minimized by giving them using such technologies which allow remote capturing of data. Now, most of the data, except some complicated clinical trials, even in oncology, we have seen, even in respiratory pain, even in many other segments, the data can be efficiently captured electronically while the patient is at home. So patient will take those sensors with them. For example, if it is a hypertension trial, there will be blood pressure ambulatory monitors. If it is a cardiac trial, there will be ECG monitors, heart rate monitors, and communicating the data seamlessly to the central servers. More importantly, all this data will be connected to central servers, and the central servers will also be monitoring the data on real-time basis and also through artificial intelligence. The quality of data is actually better than the paper data. Not only this, I'm not limiting myself to the heart rate, BP, and the conventional things. Even there are more complicated things. Now you can actually monitor the electrolytes through the sensors which are on the sweat sensors. You can monitor glucose through some patches. You can actually monitor multiple activities, sleep, etc. That we know that these have even come into Apple devices. But then there could be many other things also. Even there are knee bands which will monitor any structural changes which are happening through time in an osteoarthritis trial. So you name the trial, you name the modality, and those things are being developed. So what happens is, once a patient comes on the first visit, you give them those sensors, and then the patient only comes to the last visit, and in between you are monitoring all these parameters remotely. Then the patient centricity improves, patient benefit improves. Not only that, the collection of the data is better, the monitoring of the data through remote data, remote source data verification is much better. Data quality also improves. Moreover, the most important point is you have now access to 100% of patients, not the previous 8% of patients. Your recruitment will be much faster. Not only that, once your recruitment is faster, you cut short the clinical development time by using these technologies, and the trial that you are going to finish, for example, in 2 years, you can actually finish the trial in 1 year, for instance. So it saves a lot of money. Time is money in clinical trials. Eventually you launch the product earlier, you save a lot of money. So this is going to be the future. So I would say digitalization is going to disrupt the clinical trial market in future. But at the same time, see, the platforms have to be very robust. I will take 2 extra minutes because
Yes,
this
please.
is
Absolutely.
an important topic actually. So, see, the platforms have to be very robust. All the platforms have to be compliant, have to be seamless. The data security should be absolutely good here. See, all the platforms have to be monitored by the clinical monitors. See, in the conventional trial, monitors will go to the site, see all the data verification SDVs, and then fix up the EDC part. Close the EDC part. Here, the EDC is taking the data directly from the devices. So this remote source data verification have to be really upgraded here. And the platforms have to be integrated. So this integrated platform, so far in India, we don't see many of those. There has to be a central server which has to be connected to all the devices which are going given to the patients, and it has to be integrated to the remote SDV platform as well. So all the platforms, including the IWRS, including the e-consent, because here the consent will also be electronic consent. It will not be a patient will not come.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
EDC and definitely is going to be electronic. So all these platforms have to be integrated well, and it has to be connected to through AI as well as ML to identify any quality issues during the trial as well. And then there are some very good systems which are now deployed at multiple big pharmas. Indian companies are still working on those parameters because these are relatively expensive at the moment in one go cost. But if you see the overall cost effectiveness, it is much higher because it saves you a lot of time. And on the long run, it is way to go. So that's my perspective for this.
No, excellent. So I think it was a great understanding for us. I think a lot of deeper dimensions of even clinical research, I think it is touched by digitalization, and I think there can be a lot of acceleration we can see with respect to things happening more smoothly in this particular period. Very exciting, from a business person to know these advancements happening over there. It's a definitely great thing. I would like to have Dr. Ravi Sekhar, your views, correct, too, on this. Correct. According to you, what are the things, what's happening here, and any overview you would like to give on the same?
Sure. Mostly what I could echo, what I wanted to echo is only about what Dr. Lalit said. But at the same time, what I see is about when I started way back in 1986 onwards working in a hospital like Nizam's Institute of Medical Sciences, what I could see, the way that when we started, within that particular decade after my joining, I could see a vast difference from what we used to do with a paper, transformations to go to electronic transformation. But of course, it's very localized. Localized when I say it's not going to be out of a computerized system. And like the way that the revolution came during that period was having a electronic typewriter to a kind of a CPU system with a desktop monitor and many other aspects. But what I would see is the change is inevitable, which I always see and enjoy the way that new challenges coming up and the way that transformations happening. Because I don't see a disruption for clinical research because as Dr. Lalit also said, we are transforming. So from a conventional, traditional, very orthodox manner of paper documentations to electronic documentation and a huge database to deal with. And it come what may, you start with structuring and restructuring and designing and redefining. So many aspects that what we look into is at the beginning. So when you do it right at front and upfront, then you can get it very good in the last. So if you put your mindset for end of the results, what we are able to receive, that should be addressed at the beginning. If we cannot address that at the beginning in the clinical research, the homework, if not done properly, and I don't see a kind of data capturing, and I can't really analyze and come to a conclusion with a fruitful outcomes for benefit of the mankind, especially the key areas like chronic lifestyle diseases and including even cancer. So many aspects which are across the board for a country like India, when it goes to the rural health missions, still the kind of mobility and stability and sustainability. These are all the important aspects that one needs to look into, because as Dr. Lalit pointed out, we might have many established centers in the cities, but not at the rural areas, or we don't even have a right proper hubs also in the rural zones. So at least there is a hub facilities where we can see the diagnostics to happen, where we can see the screening parameters to happen, where we can see the inclusion of the key remote people into the system, where we can see there is a access for the internet, and there are things that need to happen through the hub facility, which can be well equipped with the well-trained people. Because why always look into for any need for digitalization, one has to have the trained manpower, one has to have the sufficient equipment. Because earlier pharma companies never used to have, or they used to have, but they are very limited to 100 square feet of space for IT department, which they call it was only for computer management fellow. Whereas right now we can see companies hold positions for CIOs with a very good networking facility, and even to that matter, they wish to see how best we can really equip the end users, because end user for company is nothing but a consumer and a patient. If not taken into consideration, huge data loss will be happening. And if there is a data loss, it cannot give a very conclusive outcomes for the clinical rationales and scientific research and development. And the clinical development per se is totally dependent on the patient's suffering and how best quality of life at the quality of care at the point of care is given. That's most important, which I feel a very transformation is a very simple process, but which I feel that it should be really uplifted at the beginning by any company. Then they can sustain and they can manage it to really get a very good focused outcomes, and those which would be helpful. So in this regard, even I wanted to add the other angle is about regulatory dynamics. Because regulatory dynamics, if we do not really see into equipping themselves to meet all the important regulations to monitor our devices, to qualify the devices, and to really see the biomonitors, how are they really working, and how these sensors are really gathering the information. Would that be going for an auditable trials and auditable outcomes that which we can withstand for the science being evidence-based, as well as the treatments are totally quality of care for the longevity of the life of this suffering. Because the suffering always look at ease of operation at their hand. At the same time, beyond the pill solutions are also equally important to really make this digital transformation. And India is, I don't say it's behind, but it is garnering itself and it is gathering its strength in what they left earlier, depending on the West. Right now, we can see that the kind of West looking at the East, especially India, as a hub for clinical research. So I believe that kind of a journey, which last 35 years, which I could see in India and with me in the companies as well.
No, excellent. I think India was always defining with respect to its presence into the clinical research, and it is getting digitalized to the level next. I think it's very heartening to know. Just a short and quick question I would like to ask to both again one more time, just in continuation of the same discussion, because this is a very diverse panel. We bring a lot of different skill sets on board together. So from business point of view, we between me and Dr. Rajput, we are the PNL owners, right? So we always try to measure the things in terms of what are going to be the ultimate PNL impacts of that. So my question to both of you, to be very precise, was that is digitalization on real ground level helping to have some cost saving? Is digitalization is becoming enabler only in process, or is digitalization also becoming an enabler with respect to its cost effectiveness?
So I'll take the question first, Archis. Let me give you an example. During COVID times, there was a trial of hydroxychloroquine, which was completely digital. It was not done in India, outside India, with all regulatory compliances. And all the patients, it used a predominant digital approach, so that most of the data was collected remotely. And when you would wonder how remotely, so there were also a remote nursing team who will go to the patient and collect the data. There is a patient coming to the hospitals, as well as there were telemedicine investigators team in that clinical trial. The entire clinical trial, including the recruitment, the regulatory aspects, including the data management, everything got completed in 90 days, and the report was submitted. There was a need of the time, it was done. Had it been not a digital trial, this would have taken at least 2 more months, I would say 5 months minimum. Yeah,
big time.
So it saved time there, and I would say time is money.
Absolutely.
So when I'm saying, so there is a clear data that this so one company which has analyzed all the digital trials and charted the time advantage versus the conventional trials, has found that the 60% there is a 60% time cut short in the digital clinical trials. Most of this advantage comes from the faster recruitment, because then you have a larger access of patient pool. You can have larger number of patients from diverse areas. So you save time in enrollment, and this kills most of the time in most of the clinical trials. Eventually, you save 60% of time in a clinical trial in a digital setting compared to a conventional setting. And what happens is you take the product earlier to the market, earlier to the patients in need. Okay. So, and now you calculate the PNL.
No, we for us, for business, timing is more important. If you can, whatever can come early in the market, I think it's priceless. We struggle for the launch time advantage, for this.
So even if an 18-month clinical trial, I would say 1.5 year clinical trial is cut short to 8 months or 9 months, if you're bringing a product 8 or 9 months earlier in the market, you can imagine the PNL.
Very insightful, Dr. Lalit. Dr. Ravi, a very quick view from your side, then I will go to Dr. Arani. You're on mute. Dr. Ravi, you're on mute.
Sorry. Ability to work with the digital transformation platforms, which would be definitely helpful for the bottom line. But at the same time, as Dr. Lalit also equally pointed out, that getting this outsourced to any other country must be much quicker because of their exposure and the experience. But at the same time, as I was telling, it's easy to get it done outside with the higher paycheck. But at the same time, what I always look at, how best it is quickly understood at the gateway of any pharmaceutical company. Because I always say clinical research is a gateway, a final gateway for any product to go into the regulatory launches after the approvals. So I always look at the commercial team, because it's like that, the way that we always wish to work. The commercial team, and along with the end-to-end teams like clinical research teams, if they sit, they really understand, because the cost component is very huge when it comes to the clinical trials and clinical research works. So this clinical development costs need to be mapped well at the beginning itself, which would really make it a more substantiated platform for making this to happen is in India or out of India, but at the same time within the stipulated timelines and quality of the reports, because the clinical reports are equally important to really take into the customer, because not the regulator. Regulator is one of the customers for companies, but marketing strategists, when they wanted to really see their product, is their distributors and payers and the patients and the way that the feedbacks they receive it for the product's quality and sustainability in the point of care. Because ultimately the timely distribution, the timely recovery from the patients for such kind of feedbacks, which would really help, because patient centricity does not mean that you do a clinical trial and leave it there. No, it's like patient centricity is for healthcare professionals, payers, insurers, and the regulators. All this to really make a form, a team who can really make a huge database handling, and its management would really give lots of insights, not for this product or not for the life cycle management, but at the same time, it gives a long run repurposing proposals as well, if possible, if there is any chance really to see the combination therapies and how best we can really bring out biopharmaceutical products into the market with good interventions and good inventions, innovative designs of the product programs for both pharma and biopharma. So the medical devices all together, because all these cannot go without hand in hand with each other. So most important aspect which we need to see is all our fingers to be well integrated, well connected, and well integrated on the digital platform only, because that will help to sustain and prove the kind of selection to point of care at the patient level. That's
Excellent.
what I see a profit and P&L for any clinical development is well connected with the commercial teams.
No, excellent. Very, very nice perspective. So before I go to Professor Ranjit, I would like to continue one question on clinical, correct? And Dr. Arani, this is, so far as the aspect of clinical research and digitalization, we would like to understand from you, is India aligned with the globe? Or maybe, whatever the good clinical practice, like GMP, we have GCP, good clinical practice. So what is the status of this good clinical practice in India versus abroad? Is the benchmarking of India just because of cost, or is also because of the quality? What are your views on this particular angle?
Hi, Archis. Thank you for that question. So, okay, so I think, when we try to answer that, we have to sort of take a step back and look at the reality and become a little pragmatic, because all these super latest developments which are happening are not totally reflected in India. We are getting there. So, when we classify countries, one set is developed and the other set in which India falls is not called underdeveloped anymore. It is called developing. So that's the same case with digitization or digitalization, whatever you want to call it. And the question is not as much about GCP, but about the 21 CFR Part 11. It comes into play there, that what is the electronic record credibility. So what is the calibration of the sensors that are being used at homes rather than in hospitals, because in hospitals they are calibrated at regular intervals, certificates are issued, but that may not be the case for the home-based data collection. I want to give an example from one trial which we are currently doing. It's running actually, where which started during the second wave of the COVID last year. So this is a real life example. And because of that, we had to do many aspects of the trial remotely. Not, so like Dr. Lalit said, first visit and last visit at site. But if you take the back end part, the CRO, which is doing the trial, site qualification visits, they were all done remotely. Site initiation visits, they were all done remotely. Site monitoring visits, half of them were done remotely. So that is very good, on the face of it. But later we realized that this is creating some communication gaps, which in turn are leading to, in some cases, violations in GCP as well. So, for example, we had 2 injections to be given, one on the left leg, one on the right leg. This is a trial of vaccine in babies. And all centers did it, 24 out of 18 out of 19 centers did it. But in one center, because of this communication gap, because this site initiation visit was remotely done, they gave both injections on the left leg. And because the monitoring visit is also remote, you're not going there, so you cannot find out that mistake till a lot of time has passed. Another practical example from that trial I'll give you. In according to GCP, the investigators are supposed to retain all the used and unused investigational products for verification. This is very standard, but then when you work with sites, out of 19, there will be, suppose 15 will be experienced sites, but always there will be 2 or 3 which are doing for the first time. Now for them, a better level, more intense training and guidance is required, which becomes difficult when you are doing it remotely. So when monitors went there, half of the monitoring, as I told you, was being done remotely. So when the monitor actually went to the site, they found that some of the vials and syringes had been discarded, unintentionally, which is again against GCP. So if the site initiation, monitoring, these are all been happening physically, the chances of this would have been less. So there are some small niggles which are also associated, and it is not the case with clinical trials alone. When the banking system in India went digital, when other things went digital, everyone faced problems. These are called, teething problems. So there's nothing to be afraid of. But since you asked the question specifically about India, I gave these a few examples. But overall, as Dr. Lalit and Dr. Kasibhatta said, a lot of progress has been made, and the government is behind this with its support for Digital India. And with this combined effort from everyone, things are going to get progressively better.
Thanks, sir. I think clinical research is something, and so many good practices in digitalization is something, was a great understanding for people who has a pharma business background, and we are very excited to know that so much of the impact and excellence is happening in this field. That gives a lot of strength, encouragement to the business teams to have confidence that many things will be much quicker in terms of the deliverables which happen from the associated teams. So it was really great. Coming to Professor Ranjit Singh, sir, I have a little different question, correct, for you, because from pharma business point of view, or maybe from any other function of pharma point of view. We look at, educationists from a point of, supply chain, or not maybe supply chain, from a talent pool supply chain, right? Because the kind of mindsets which are going to come out from these institutions, I think they are going to define the future digitalization in pharma, non-pharma, whichever sector is there. So I would like to understand from you, sir, that how do you see the mindset as well as the current level of preparedness by this young generation for this completely changing dimensions of the pharma business in this particular decade? What are your views, sir, on this?
Thank you very much, Archis. I am honored to be a part of this eminent panel. Rather an odd man in such a pool of intellectuals from industry, but I am feeling honored. Your question is very suitable. Before I take this, what is happening in higher education sector, especially I belong to pharmacy and our university, which is established, located in pure rural background. And we are running Ayurveda, pharmacy, naturopathy courses along with other courses, and with 100-bedded hospital there. So what I could feel that this decade, I very sincerely listened to the inputs from all the eminent panelists, and they covered almost everything, the advantages, the disadvantages of digitalization. And whenever there is change, then obviously some resistance is always there, but you have to go for change. Because change is something which is constant. As far as the higher education is concerned, what I feel, we have just faced this pandemic. And during the pandemic, when we were asked to deliver academic matter to the students, so we faced many problems initially, and problems of mindset. That was the first thing. What I feel, this third decade of 21st century, that what it demands is skills. We need to upskill. We need to change our mindset, whether it is pharma industry, whether it is academic institution, because we are the supplier of the talent pool, or the otherwise human resources to industry or otherwise. We need to do a lot of things, because implementing things in hurry always lead to, I think, not a very good output. In education, we are talking about national education policy, and we are saying that we have to be student-centric, where we have to work out the policies which are favorable to the students, and we need to be student-centric. Similarly, I think in pharma industry, it needs to be patient-centric right now, and digitalization will definitely play a very important role. But what we need is the skills, the tools, the techniques, availability of techniques, affordability of the techniques, and then the skills. And what is needed right now, we need to upskill everybody. Digitalization or digital transformation, it is inevitable. We have to, accept it, and we have to train ourselves.
Very well said.
I'm not very computer savvy, but I'm sitting at a small village, Gangoh, and I am in touch with all eminent personalities. So we are doing our best. We have different kind of raw material. I am in a university which is here at Gangoh, and our raw material, the students are from the surrounding areas belonging to farmer families. So sometimes they don't have a mobile of that kind where we can deliver a lecture on that, or what is called digital health right now, or mobile health. So everything is useful, but before we implement them, we need to create that infrastructure. And internet, obviously, availability, affordability, tools, techniques, and skills. That is required. And for that, we need teachers who are with a positive mindset and who know things. So first thing is to train our teachers here as far as the higher education is concerned, and then our students, and to change their mindset. But yes, we are doing it, we are accepting that. And similarly, pharma industry is doing wonderful as far as the India is concerned, quality is there. But yes, there are certain loopholes, and you industry people know them better. And we have to find out the problems and look for the solution at the same time. As educationists, I feel that whatever we do, we should do with honesty, sincerity, so that our new generation is upskilled, they know the things, and they're able to deliver the things. Yeah.
So beautifully said, sir. So beautifully said, and it's a different dimension. It's a different learning, for us. I think educating teachers, what else can be, beautiful than that? Like if there is a sufficient amount of digital input or orientation towards that, goes into the teachers, I think that will have a very long lasting and very widespread impact so far as the pharma education and the new generation which is coming is concerned. I think I would like to take a final question, and this final question again I would like to go to our legendary Dr. Rajput, correct, on that, because he has worked in most of the facets of the work, so he covers, I think, most of the part. So sir, my question to you is that what is your suggestion with respect to what skills we all need to adapt in this changing digital mindset, because it has to get applied across the ages or something. We may be illiterate if we do not know the digital after some time in that. So what is your recommendation, guidance, to all the audience on building the skill set to cope up with this change?
Good. So I will, first of all, thank you once again, Archis, for giving me such a wonderful question. So I'll take from Professor Ranjit Singh, sir, right? Because, sir, you are the fulcrum. Why I'm saying so? Because, why? Because the new people, the younger generation is coming from your side, right? And being a part of the pharmaceutical industry, we see that the students which are coming, they are more tech savvy, right? So it is very, very important what you said, that the teachers should be more oriented towards the technology, and at the same time, from the education point of view, the student should be more clear about the technological requirements. Because see, today we may be obsolete, because let me tell you very clearly, when we take the student from the different colleges, from the different marketing background, believe you me, they are well versed about the technology uses about it, right, sir? And today that is the real requirement. So when I talk about the pharmaceutical industry, so I'll segment into 2-3 parts. So first is, there's a clear-cut attitudinal segmentation is required for building the brand. So I'm talking about the complete on the P&L part. Then when we talk about the attitudinal segmentation, what are things are there? It has to be our entire group of the customer has to be in the 4 parts. One is the knowledge seeker, because when we go and promote the products, right, there are a set of doctors who like to listen the knowledge, which is the digital knowledge or directly to the knowledge. This is point number 1. Second thing is transactional seeker, because they keep on coming and going, right? So that is, their part is there, where you can have the physical approach and digital approach. Third is the relationship seeker, because after all, we all are Indians and we have the emotional feelings also. So there also we have to have the building the things. And fourth is the independent. So this I'm talking about how the segmentation has to be done in the pharmaceutical industry. Now coming to the question of Archis, that what is the new thing which is required? We have to have, apart from the digital knowledge which we like to give, technological knowledge, talking about the AI part, we have to build the emotional intelligence. Because see, today we are going to work with the machines and the computer, but at the same time, it is very prudent that the new generation which is coming, they should be adopting about the emotional intelligence part, which I feel that somewhere this part has not been taught, because this is a part of the skill, and the skill has to be developed very well, which is important, because then they will be able to understand how to deal, which way to deal, and how to take the things ahead. Because today, any person who joins in a professional organization, any professional organization like to have a contribution for the person. Right. So it is very, very important that a young student who is becoming a professional, they should be learning that how they should be contributing in the organization in terms of their data, in terms of the mental orientation, in terms of the mental agility, in terms of the mental resilience. And so it is very important, because the COVID has taught us that we have to be emotionally strong. Because in the coming time, we have to deal with the machine, we have to deal with the computer, we have to deal with the data. But after all, this is the thing which is going to make us very, very clear and strong. So this is a blend of all things. We cannot hide from the technology. We have to adopt the technology, because that is the future. And let me tell you, sir, I just want to add here, Archis, one very, very important thing which was coming in my mind when I was talking to things. See, in the coming time, we are talking about the biosimilars, we are talking about genome therapy, but you will agree by 2035, how the work is having. that tomorrow's world, the cancer will be managed like a chronic health. Believe you me, the work is going on. And it is true, it is prudent. And at the same time, you will also find the clinicians, because here we are talking about the clinical heads and all. They are going to see the early and proactive screening with improved diagnostic innovations, such as the better genome sequencing technology is going to come, or the liquid biopsy is going to come. That is going to promise the higher ease of the testing, higher accuracy, and ideally at an affordable cost, which is the future part, which the clinical research people will agree with me, because that's what the world is working on that. Second thing I'd like to add here, because people have to be very clear, that nanobots are coming, which are going to be plug our brains straight into the cloud. This is the future, and the work is there, work is on. By 2030, you will find the first step of it, and 2050, the scientist has written, it is going to happen, so that you can see that what our ancestors were doing it. People incarnation through AI is going to happen. Again, I'm talking about the science which is going to work. This is all a part of the medical science. AI is going to become a positive net job motivator, because the people should learn artificial intelligence. Today we are talking about the AR, VR, MR, and extended reality. This is all a part of the science. So we have to adopt, we have to learn, like we have to have A, B, C, D to make the word and then to make the sentences grammar. This is the basic requirement is there. So that is all from my side, which I like to highlight on this wonderful platform, that any person who is there in the pharmaceutical industry, or the people who are supporting in either way, or the educators which are developing the new generation, they must incarnate this thing, which is very, very important, because that is the need of the hour. And we have to be there, otherwise we'll be obsolete. It's the same thing that the people, they talk on the print media versus the people who talk on the digital media. That will be the difference will be there.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent, sir. I think I was thinking, in the beginning of the program that panelists are quite diverse. I think how to bring all the panelists on one board for one particular topic. And today at the end of session, I really feel so satisfied that we were able to hold on digital, we were able to hold on pharma, and yet there were so many diverse, and education also pitching in, right? So there were so many different and diverse thought processes marrying the pharma interest at digital level. I think that is something which has happened very beautifully, and you summarize it very well with the skills required for the future. I think this could have been a great treat for people who are in the budding stage of their career. I think some adoption of this, some learning from this can be of a great help, right? So on my behalf, personal behalf, professional behalf, as well as from ArdorComm, correct, I would like to thank all the panelists. I think we have connected each other because of the purpose of this particular program, but let's keep the connect, correct, and let's be in touch with each other. And it was great to connect with all of you. So thanks a lot. Thanks all the audience. And I think let's keep on learning, let's keep on, because learning is something which will take all of us ahead, right? So thank you very much. And namaste to all the seniors, all of you, all the audience from my side. Thanks a lot.
And you are a wonderful moderator, wonderful, super moderator with such a humbleness, humility, compassion. The way you have moderated beautifully. You are always there. So you are one of the most favorite of in my heart.
Wow.
And I really want to say, Pramod sir, thank you for connecting with Archis, sir.
Absolutely. So Itisha has been a connecting link, and definitely Archie said the justice which you brought to this event. See, selecting a topic, to finalizing a speaker, to finalizing the agenda, the questionnaire, that is again a tedious task. But bringing the real juice out of that particular session topic, it hats off to the moderator, because that all these are stalwarts, and they have so many ample of knowledge and learning, but they may hesitate, or they may not be thrown with a proper question so that a proper output can come. That needs a talent and expertise into that thing. So I would really congratulate you on that part.
Thanks a lot.
So that apt questions, and definitely a good blend of academia and pharmacy. In fact, the day I approached Professor Ranjit, he was saying that why should I go over there? Sir, why not? Jab pharmacy and the industries people, he is saying that Lupin is there, Sun Pharma is there, Cadila is there, then Dr. Reddy, Shobhit University वहाँ क्या करेगा? हम बोले सर आखिर बच्चे तो यहाँ से ही निकले हैं ना. Without a pharma degree, without a diploma or master's degree, किसने इस प्रोफेशन को चूज किया था? कोई MBA करके तो केवल आया नहीं. They must be having a pharma degree. So ultimately, this would be a good blend to understand कि where is the gap or what is the need. हम जो पढ़ा रहे हैं और जो इंडस्ट्री में रिक्वायरमेंट है आज के ट्रेंड में, जो पता नहीं 2 साल में इट हैज बीन चेंज्ड ड्रास्टिकली द वे वी हैड थॉट कि ठीक है ग्रेजुअल इंक्रीज करेंगे, देखेंगे इंडस्ट्री का रिस्पांस आने दो, बट नो, इट इज शूटेड अप लाइक एनीथिंग. अगर आपने आपको चेंज नहीं किया तो फिर समय ने आपको चेंज कर दिया. मेनी इंस्टीट्यूट हैज शट डाउन, मेनी इंडस्ट्रीज हैव शट डाउन बिकॉज दे कुड नॉट रिफॉर्म देमसेल्फ. अपने आप को चेंज ही नहीं कर पाए, ये एडॉप्ट ही नहीं कर पाए. मे बी दे आर नॉट प्रिपेयर्ड. एंड Saharanpur and Gangoh, sir, matlab we keep on getting that the way Shobhit University started up, and I'm happy that Shobhit University has partnered with in this event as a university partner, sir. This is such a small town in Saharanpur and a small town in Meerut. There are 2 universities, and the kind of work which they have been doing, it all depends a lot on the leadership, sir. The Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor, their team, those who are encouraging and holding the students not to go to Delhi but to remain over here because we have the quality to deliver. ये होना चाहिए. Migration is happening a lot, na sir. बताइए पुणे में रह रहे हैं, there's so much of migration happening. Nobody wants to study and take an education from a smaller town and city. Everybody wants to go to Bombay, Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi for say. So फिर क्या करें? फिर schools, institutes नहीं चले छोटे cities में. नहीं, they have to give a tough fight, and I really salute the way we are doing, and we all are recognizing, Ranjit sir, the way Archis ji just said, we all are recognizing your effort, और हमें पता है कि what efforts and caliber goes in making that foundation strong. So मजा आ गया सर, मुझे तो I learned a lot.
मैं आपको सर एक ऐड करूंगा, जैसे आपने बोला ना रंजीत सर के बारे में या शोभित यूनिवर्सिटी, इट इज वेरी ट्रू. देखो आप पूरे हिंदुस्तान में कोटा एक बड़ी छोटा सा स्टेशन है. आज जितने सबके बच्चे पहले कोटा की तरफ भागते हैं, क्यों? बिकॉज दे हैव एस्टैब्लिश्ड देमसेल्फ, राइट. पीपल अगर IIT करने वाले भी जाएंगे, ये भी करने जाएंगे, सब कोटा भागेंगे, राइट. एंड कोटा हैज बिकम ए बिग हब फॉर द एजुकेशन पार्ट. सो what Ranjit sir is doing it, what Shobhit University is doing it, and I am aware because Professor Ajay Rana, who is again the Vice Chancellor of your Meerut University, is a good friend of mine, right? So because earlier he was in the other institute, you know that, right? So I am aware about it, and the way you are putting, and as a senior, as a YVC, you are putting the thing. I am sure because क्या होता है सर कि बड़े शहर में जो बच्चे हैं ना, वो थोड़ा सा ऑलरेडी एक 1 ग्रेड अप होते हैं. लेकिन अगर छोटी जगह के बच्चों को अगर हम उनको इनकलकेट करें, उनमें चाहत बहुत होती है और उनकी इनहिबिशंस भी बहुत होती हैं सर. दोनों चीज होती है, चाहत भी है, इनहिबिशंस भी है. So if you are able to take that obstacle from their mind, they can do a wonders. They can do a wonders.
Only I can add one more point is few of us must be from villages like me also.
Correct.
But at the same time, what I could see is the way that what we are returning to the community is most important.
Correct, sir.
We come to a level. So I definitely wish to see Ranjit Saab calls me and I will be there to meet the teams there, our students, and at least share some few points connected with the clinical research.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I will be in touch with you, and we will take your services to motivate our students ourselves.
It's not my. I feel like it's my duty, which makes India bigger, greater across the globe. That's most important, as we are global villages.
Correct, sir. You said it, sir. Believe me, because what you said, because is what like DIT University is there in Dehradun, right? So all these small universities which are really grooming the children, because we want to see our new generation which should be ruling the world. And we have the example. We talk about Sundar Pichai. He is the ruling from the Google. He's from a very small place from Trichy, na? Yes. So he is. You can just read the biography of this gentleman. Just 2-bedroom house his father was having, and how he has changed the entire thing. And he is the ruler. There are so many people out there who are ruling the things. Right. So it is very good, sir. You are doing such a great thing, and we salute to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I will take your help to groom them further.
Anytime, sir. Anytime. Because I am already in the advisory board member of 15 universities. which I have already taken the name. So I will be love to be a part, because I like to see our young generations being a great star generation in the entire world, sir.
I shall be in touch. I shall be in touch, and we will take your services.
Baton needs to be transformed from what whoever leaders currently are to go, and the young generation should come and take this baton. Learning zeal is important. Learning quotient is important than IQ also, I feel, all the time.
Right. Thank you.
Great learning, sir. Ranjit sir, just a suggestion. We are again joining tomorrow, because the Chancellor, sir, Kumar Shekhar ji, he is the special guest for tomorrow. Kindly appeal your students, sir, do witness this kind of event. They should.
I will do it. I will do it. They will join.
Because सब कुछ अच्छा था. थोड़ा सा audience का level भी उस level का रहता ना, because
ये थोड़ा सा problem है online. But tomorrow I will help you.
Yeah, 150 people at the morning. And I am surprised to see the numbers dropping but the late. और session बहुत interesting होते गया शाम तक. गुरुजी
आपने इसको record किया है, ये circulate होता रहेगा. लोगों को देखना ही पड़ेगा ये.
Lovely. Tomorrow, sir, just ensure that people they log in, your faculty, your students also.
I will ensure.
I will ensure. Sir, आप लोग कल नहीं रहेंगे, लेकिन अपने टीम को आप please बोल सकते हैं कि please register themselves, so that everything is a learning and knowledge. हम लोग भी सीख ही रहे हैं. So they should not miss such kind of forums. And so thank you, sir. Now we are coming to the end. We just want to do the honors. We want to honor with your small moment of token of thanks with a certificate. Great.
Thank you, sir.
So this certificate of appreciation is going to Dr. Pramod Kumarji Rajput. He is a vertical head and the senior vice president from Cadila Pharmaceuticals for participating as a distinguished speaker in this forum. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Shubham, if you could give a background music, तो थोड़ा सा interest और अच्छा आता है. I feel more engaging rather than just.
Thank you, Chandan. Thank you, Etisha.
Yeah. Congratulations, Dr. Ravi Sekhar ji, the senior vice president. Dr. Arani Chatterjee, senior vice president, clinical research, Aurobindo Pharma, certificate of appreciation. Congratulations, sir. Is it over?
नहीं, बाकी है अभी तो.
Right. Thank you. Feel नहीं आ रहा था से. Dr. Lalit Lakhwani ji is the associate vice president from Sun Pharma. Thank you, sir, for joining us over here.
Thank you so much,
giving so much of knowledge in this forum. The certificate goes to Professor Ranjit Singh ji, Vice Chancellor, Shobhit University, Gangoh, Saharanpur. Certificate of appreciation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Archis.
It was Archis Hemant Joshi ji. He is the commercial head from Maximus SBU, Dr. Reddy's. Thank you for participating and moderating this wonderful session, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.